This is BBC One for the Midlands.
Life imprisonment for the Rackham's knife attacker. And Birmingham City in the dock over crowd trouble last year. Good afternoon. A man who ran amok with 2 knives at Rackham's department store in Birmingham has been jailed for life. David Morgan appeared at Birmingham Crown Court for sentence after admitting 10 counts of wounding. The court heard a total of 17 people were attacked, some so traumatised that they were unable to walk. Peter Wilson reports.
David Cedric Morgan arrived at Birmingham Crown Court after most of his victims had already taken their seats to hear his sentence. In December 1994, Morgan had casually strolled around 2 floors of the Rackham's department store in Birmingham, slashing at 17 people's throats and necks. He'd admitted that he'd gone armed with 2 kitchen knives to attack women.
I knew I couldn't tackle this man with my height, so my thoughts were, I'll do what I can where I know I can help. And unfortunately, that led me to be one of the victims.
The court had heard that Morgan had been suffering from a series of mental health problems and had gone to his doctor 2 months before the attack, warning that he had thoughts of attacking women. He was given no treatment, but 3 months ago he cut the throat of a nurse in a psychiatric hospital where he was being held. In sentencing Morgan to life imprisonment, Mr. Justice Igor Judge told him that he was an evil, brutal man, a remorseless force which shattered the peace and created havoc and terror. He told him that his victims would be haunted by his memory for the rest of their lives.
17 pupils at a Midlands school have been arrested after being caught taking the hallucinatory drug LSD. A police investigation began last month when teachers at King Charles I High School in Kidderminster suspected some pupils were taking drugs. 3 students have been expelled following claims they supplied LSD. 12 pupils aged 14 and 15 have been formally cautioned by the police for possessing the Class A drug, and 5 more are on police bail. An FA commission is at Birmingham City's ground today investigating the crowd trouble that marred City's home game with Millwall in November last year. Blues have been charged with misconduct and a decision should be known later today. Steve Lee is at St Andrews.
The FA Commission of Inquiry began a short time ago. It'll hear evidence from both clubs as well as the local police. First on the agenda was a tour of St Andrews, with particular attention to the railway end. It was here that missiles were thrown by Blues fans onto the Millwall supporters below. 100 police officers also fought running battles with fans outside. Some officers were hurt and a police horse was stabbed. Birmingham City strongly dispute the misconduct charge. They claim the Millwall fans provoked the trouble and they did everything within their power to ensure crowd safety. The commission is expected to sit for most of the day.
Well, Steve Lee is still at St Andrews football ground. Steve, what are the range of punishments the club could face?
Well, the FA have a wide range of punishments in these misconduct cases. They could fine a club heavily or order them to play the games behind closed doors, or they could suspend sentences. And I think what goes against Birmingham City in this case is that the police said at the time that Blues fans were to blame, and that's the evidence they're going to give today to the commission that's sitting here.
Steve, can you tell us how much of a history of trouble there is at St Andrews?
Well, I'm afraid it's not a very happy picture for Birmingham City. In the mid-80s, there was the Leeds United riot in which a wall collapsed and a young fan died. And there were other incidents at Blackpool and London. And more recently, they were fined £50,000 in 1992 and a suspended sentence for games behind closed doors for trouble in the Stoke game. So they do have a history of crowd violence, and I think obviously that may play a major factor today.
And can you give us an idea when the inquiry is likely to end?
Well, the Commission of Inquiries really only got underway at 11 o'clock. They've had a tour of the ground and they are looking at the particular railway end where the trouble is alleged to have taken place. I think possibly late afternoon or early evening we'll have a result from St Andrews.
Well, Steve from St Andrews, thanks very much. A man is appearing before magistrates in Northampton today, charged with the murder of Daniela White. Her body was discovered dumped by a railway line in December. The man hasn't been named but is thought to be a 48-year-old lorry driver from Northampton who was taken into custody on Wednesday. A formal application to create a new 180-mile-long freight railway from the Midlands to the Channel Tunnel is expected to be made soon. Part of the £3 billion plan involves laying new track on the Great Central Railway, much of which closed in the 60s. Our transport correspondent Peter Plisner reports.
The Great Central was the last of the country's mainline railways to be built. It was also one of the first to close. The line used to run between Sheffield and London via Nottingham and Leicester. But now the Central Railway Group wants to reopen the line. From a terminal in Leicestershire, freight trains capable of carrying lorries would run direct to the Channel Tunnel. But local people who've got used to living close to a disused railway line aren't so keen on the idea.
If the line goes through, we've got problems with noise, probably dirt, vibration. We're on clay, so vibration will travel very easily through that.
If the plan does get the go-ahead, trains could be running from the Midlands direct to the Channel Tunnel within 6 years.
And if we thought we'd seen the last of that white stuff, I think Kathy may have news for us.
Thanks, Bernie. Well, surprisingly, we've had snow today and there's more to come, but it shouldn't settle. Apart from the occasional snow flurry, this afternoon will stay dry and cloudy. A few brighter spells are possible, mainly in the south. Temperatures will only reach 1 Celsius, though. This evening will be mostly dry, with a great deal of clouds still about. Some cloud will break up, increasing the risk of a few isolated patches of freezing fog. Temperatures fall to -1, with a slight frost expected in most areas overnight. And there's another cloudy start to tomorrow, but there's more of this cloud breaking up to let the sun shine through. Snow showers are more likely the further east you go, but hopefully it shouldn't settle. Temperatures reaching about 2 Celsius. That's it from me for now.
Thanks, Kathy. Well, we'll be back with Midlands Today, as usual, at 6:30 this evening. Do join us then if you can. But the lunchtime edition moves to a new time from Monday. We'll be on the air at 1:30 in the afternoon between the national news and Neighbours. We'll look forward to seeing you at our new time for a longer look at the stories that are making the news in the Midlands. But from us all for now, a very good afternoon.